Okay, for this lesson, we're going to learn how to calculate square roots, of course, of perfect squares, using prime factorization instead of the calculator, okay? So let's look at the first example. What is the square root of 196? Okay, the first thing we have to do is to look for the prime factors of 196, which we did over here. Okay, so 196. We know 196 is an even number. Again, because of the rules of divisibility, we know that all even numbers are divisible by 2. Okay, so 196 divided by 2 gives you 98. Again, 98 is an even number, so it's divisible by 2. And then 98 divided by 2 is equal to 49. And of course, we know 49 is divisible by 7. 7 times 7 is 49. So 2 is prime, 7 is prime. So we have found all the prime factors. And we can write it as 2 times 2 times 7 equals 196. Now, remember, if the base is the same, which means the numbers are the same, we can write it as an index. So 2 times 2 we can write as 2 squared, meaning 2 was multiplied by itself twice. Okay? So that's why we can write 2 times 2 as 2 squared. Same with 7 times 7. It's 7 multiplied by itself twice. Okay? And so our final answer would be 2 squared times 7 squared equals 196. Okay? Now, let's go back to the other side. Okay? Now, let me make this a little bit smaller. Since we know 2 squared times 7 squared is 196, we can rewrite square root of 196 into the square root of 2 squared times 7 squared. Okay? Now, we can write this as square root of 2 squared and times square root of 7 squared. Now, square root of 2 squared, okay, remember, it's the same as 2 times 2, and the square root of 2 times 2 would be 2. Okay, because what is 2 squared? 2 squared is 4. And what's the square root of 4? 2. Okay, 7 squared is 49, which is the same as the square root of 7 times 7. 7 times 7. So that gives us 7. So that's why it's 2 times 7. And what is 2 times 7? It's 14. Okay? So what are we saying here? Remember, we said that any number multiplied by itself can be written as a square, as an index. Okay? So, if we get the square root of an index, remember, the square root is the opposite. We are looking for what number do we multiply by itself to get that square. And we already know. We already know that 2 squared is the same as the square root of 2 times 2. So we already know what number is multiplied by itself. So that means this is equal to simply 2. Okay? Same with 7 squared. So that when we simplify this, we end up with 2 times 7. Because 2, the square root of 2 squared is 2. The square root of 7 squared is 7. So 2 times 7 is 14. So that means the square root of 196 is 14. That means if I multiply 14 by itself twice, okay, 14 times 14, I would get 196. Let's check. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry 1. 4 times 1 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. So this is 691. See? 196. So that means 14 multiplied by itself is 196. Therefore, the square root of 196 is 14 because we multiplied 14 by itself twice to get 196. Okay? So let's try it with the first example. Okay? Square root of 225. Let's look for the prime factors of 225. Now, since 225 ends in 5, we are sure, very sure, that this is divisible by 5. So let's check. 225 divided by 5. 20. Bring down the 5. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. 25 is 0. See? No remainder. That means it's divisible. So that means the factors of 225 will be 5 times 45. Now, 45 is not yet prime. It ends in 5. So that means this is divisible by 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. And we know already 9 is not prime. It has 3 as its factors. So 5 is prime, 3 is prime. So we can write this as 5 squared, because 5 multiplied by itself twice, because 5 times 5 times 3 times 3 equals 225. And this one is simplified to 5 squared times 3 squared. Okay? So the square root of 225 can be written as the square root of 5 squared times 3 squared, which can be rewritten as 5 squared times square root of 3 squared, which is equal to 5 times 3, which is equal to 15. So that means the square root of 225 is 15. How are we sure? Let's check. Okay? So, in order to get 225, it means, because it's a square root, it means 15 was multiplied by itself 2 times. In other words, 15 squared. So that means 15 times 15. 5 times 5, 25, carry 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. Put a placeholder. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. 5, 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry 1 is 2. 225. Okay? 225. So the answer is, the square root of 225 is 15, and this is how we look for it through prime factorization. Okay? So now try the other 5 numbers. Show your work. Always, always show your work. Okay? And make it neat. Okay? As usual, math is cool. See ya. Bye-bye.